Welcome to Spirit Call Out, where Spirit delivers personal messages meant to reach you. Join me, Dr. Sean Marie Higgins, as I bring forth a message right now, along with teachings and guidance for everyone. This next message might just be for you. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Sean Marie Higgins here for another episode of Spirit Call Out. This is where I bring the messages of Spirit to you. Spirit comes to me and gives me a message to call out to someone. And not knowing who that would go to, I created this podcast to send them out broadly with a broad band, wide scope of electrically pulsated telepathic information. I guess that's how I could describe it today. And I also share teachings from the spirits. So sometimes when I get call outs, I have a spirit like the neurosurgical angel that we've had over the last couple of episodes. She came through for at least 2 or 3 episodes and shared information and teachings. So I stayed with her teachings instead of moving on to another spirit. So sometimes I will create an episode based on teachings that spirit feels is very important. And some episodes I have learned now, as I'm told, are going to be focused on my high guides coming in to teach very high level functions that our biology is capable of doing. For example, telepathy. That's a big one. So that's going to be a big one coming through from now on. And the spirit that came through yesterday morning will give some of the beginning lessons of that. And so here we go. Bear with me this time because it's kind of a live. This isn't a live podcast, but this is sort of this episode is sort of a live recording, I would say, meaning even though I did get information from the spirit beginning yesterday morning, which was June 24th, 2026, very early in the morning, like around 5 a.m., I will still be getting information as she comes through during this visit. And for some reason for her, and maybe even going forward, this is how these episodes are going to have to be in order for me to get across the most important information in the moment. I do have notes, so pardon the crinkling paper. And as I go through the notes that I've gotten from her, she will fill in with more information. So let's get started. So this is a girl. I feel like she's a young woman or even a teenager. She came through as a picture. She came through like the other spirits I've described on previous callouts. She showed herself as a whole picture. And this is important now, even though I describe this with almost every episode so far, this is actually an important concept in telepathy. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But she showed herself to me with a very beautiful smile, just from I could tell she was sitting. It was as if she was posing for a portrait, but she had a life jacket on, a yellow life jacket, and maybe a tank top under it. She had her hair up in a ponytail, and she was smiling and looking at me with the most kind face. I would say she is. And this is an important concept here. I could not see her whole body, but just the way she projected content to me as a whole picture. The picture presented a visual, but the concepts that resonated from that visual were more dimensional. So I can feel and know things about how her body habitus was, how her personality was, because the information is stored in the pulsation of information that she first gave me, which was her image. As she appeared, and I saw very clear details, and then she faded. But within that image is so much information. So her hair was up in a ponytail. It was brown, dark brown, but it was like the color of brown when a hair is wet. It's a darker color, so I couldn't tell the exact color. So her hair was up in a ponytail, but it appeared as if it could have also been wet. Her face was round. She has a very strong body, but she doesn't bodybuild. She's just very active, possibly a stocky build, rather short stature, but still really beautiful and feminine and really kind face. And she was posing as if for a job photo, like she was a lifeguard or something. And everyone got their portrait taken, sitting in the same chair, looking in the same direction. And everyone got their portrait taken, like in their life vest. And it was hung on a wall or something. That's the immediate impression I got. And she was just smiling really calmly. The yellow life jacket, we're going to talk about a little bit more. But her personality resonated as very kind and calm mannered, very easygoing, steady and strong personality, very positive. Interesting about her age, she's young. Obviously, she's in her 20s or younger. And this is an interesting concept she gave to me. I asked her how old she was, and she gave me the number sign and 15. And I got the telepathic message that said, I'm 15. My age is 15, but I've lived for 17 years. I do not know what that means, but it's an identifying thing, possibly for whoever this message is for. And we're going to get to that even more. So she may have been a lifeguard, literally. She may have been wearing a life vest or tried to save someone who was drowning, and she may have drowned or passed away in the water. So the life jacket was a symbol. It can also be literal, but she is bringing through lessons of symbolism today as well. So there are many scenarios that this could have played out, and we'll get identify one of them as we talk along today. But I did get the visual of her like in a raft or boating expedition with a bunch of other young friends. So her message today is for her friends. And it was interesting because it was not obvious to me at the moment I got her visual, and it wasn't obvious to me the next morning, this morning, when I sat with her again for more information. And it wasn't until I'm now talking that I realized the yellow symbolizes friendship. Now, if you have listened to my podcast previously, and you may not have, and it's okay because I'll explain it now, I have developed a language with spirit of symbolism, and that happens for many psychics, as I'm told. But for me, and I've never heard this before, so this is specific for me, but I like to share it with my students because it's a demonstration of how you can develop your own language and symbolism with spirit to communicate. Spirit began coming to me wearing the color of the shirt that represented the relationship they were or are to the living human, the human still living in body for whom the message is for. For example, if a mother comes through who's been deceased and wants to speak to her son, she comes through in a fuchsia pink shirt. And Spirit has further fine-tune this language to the type of shirt. So color and type, like long sleeve versus tank top, that kind of thing. So many colors, many shirts, many different styles of shirts to signify relationship. Grandmothers come through with a light pink shirt. But if that same person, that same spirit came through for their son, let's say, then that shirt would change bright pink. And I would know that from that moment forward in the communication, the message I was getting was for her son versus her grandchild or grandchildren. And then that kind of language. So bear with me with my broken English here as I translate the words of spirit into English. So she's coming through with the yellow life jacket because yellow is symbolizing that this message is for her friends. The relationship between her and who the message is for is friendship. So I feel like it's a bunch of friends that she's trying to speak to and comfort. And that is the yellow symbolism in the jacket. The life jacket can symbolize life saving, or it can be literal as well. I feel like there's a component of both. I feel like she is the type of person that nurtures and cares for other people. Just in her calm and steady personality, she would be the person people would go to with issues or problems to get her advice. And her advice is very sound and true and real. It's never covered up or what's the word? It's never fake. It's never embellishing or enabling. She's always coming through with very kind yet true advice. She's a very stable person who others are drawn to. She's trusted as a leader, even if it's a activity that she's just learning herself. And I'm getting that that's an example that one of her friends to whom this message is for may have witnessed, that she could be like trying something brand new for the very first time, yet she's so grounded and stable that others would trust her to actually lead the group. She's so available to the moments within which she is living. And that just came through spontaneously just now. She's available for the moments within which she is living right then. And that's a message that she has for all of you. And of course, in particular for the friends who knew her. Be available, be in the moment, be available for what is for you in the moment you are living right now. So, the symbolism thing, when I get the whole picture of the spirit, that's much more important than just getting words, but I do get those sometimes too on their own, just words. It depends on what the message is for. For the call outs, I usually get an entire image or scenario moving like a movie or a picture that has a lot of detail. And the reason is because every piece of detail in that image ripples, resonates content that is core content. And as it ripples, it gives what I've previously termed peripheral content or peripheral wisdom. And that is a concept that's I teach about in my courses. And the spirits gave me that word for it so that it would be something you would understand that was a resonant intelligence from the original point of literal communication. And that resonant information is never ending. It carries forever, meaning there will always be more information that comes through those ripples. That is actually the line that we are dialing into to talk with the spirit. So when you get an image, don't feel that the first time, if you're learning how to be psychic and using your abilities of telepathy and psychic ability, that visual, if you can remember it and draw it. I have so many times recommended you draw what you see in your psychic visions, your telepathic visions, and your intuitive perceptions, because you want to go back to that visual. It always contains more information about and from this spirit. And it actually, you can consider the visual you get from an entity you're communicating with as their phone number. It's their wireless phone number. It's the visual of them that activates the power. It takes the power from all of the available free energy in the vibrational continuum. It takes all of the power that is focused towards communicating with this individual spirit, this individual entity. It can be not only a spirit, but other kinds of entities as well, which we'll get to in the podcast at some point. But it's like it encompasses their specific vibrational identity. Just get the visual in your mind, even more than affirming the words. But you can do that just to help your mind calm down and say, I affirm that I'm going to talk to so and so. Put that visual in your mind as strong as you can and look at it with your inner vision. Close your eyes so that you can calm the beta brainwave activity in your brain. This helps alpha and theta states of brainwave activity become more easily accessed for you. When you get really good at telepathy, intuition, and psychic ability, you can do this with your eyes open all day long. But I actually close my eyes so that I know that I'm getting a focused time of communication with a specific spirit, and it calms down the brain. And visual input takes beta brainwave function in order to process. So I just shut that out and make sure I'm in a quiet, calm place early in the morning when I'm doing these communications. All day long, I get different kinds of psychic information, especially in my practice with my patients. But when I'm doing call outs, I really make sure that that's a very intimate and protected meeting between me and the spirit. That is their phone number. That is their wireless vibrational channel. It's the image. So put that image in your head and then just relax with it. That would be the first lesson in communicating with spirit, recalling a spirit that you've spoken with, or even has come to you spontaneously, even a deceased loved one who you've had a flash of or a vision of when you were taking a nap on the couch, or when you first woke up in the morning before you fully woke up. If you want to call them back, whatever that image is that you saw that initial times, that's their phone number. They're giving you their number. Take that and use it as the first step. That's the first step in telepathic vision. And if you took my course on biological mediumship, we went into animal communication. Remember that? And I was sharing with you the lessons of telepathy from one of my cats who she's now deceased, but she was alive at the time she was giving me this telepathic information. And I was communicating with her, and I did it through visualization. And it's an incredible story. If you're interested in it, please go to the website and let me know, and I'll share it again at some point, or I'll continue my classes on telepathy, which have been very popular. And start with a visual. That's the phone number. That's the point at which from that visual, every time you will get the connection between you and your spirit that you're choosing to communicate with. And from that point, you can talk about anything. You can receive anything. You can ask anything. And the information ripples, but it will be whatever information it is that you want to know about at that time. So the ripples never stop. They carry. It's resonant that never stops. So these resonant ripples came from my image of the spirit. First, it was literal. I saw what she looked like. I just explained it to you. She was wearing a yellow vest. However, we're going to talk about color right now, because although I'm telling you her vest is yellow, I didn't see stark yellow. And in my conscious mind, in the middle of this communication with her, I actually saw multiple colors, and color I can't describe to you. It's not a color in our visual spectrum. I can't describe it. But if I had to, I would describe it as a swirling, dynamic, moving mix of brown, yellow, orange. But it wasn't moving. It was one. But if I had to break it down so that my human being physical visual sense could describe it in some way, it was moving, because in the spirit world, our senses are more broad. They all merge, like hearing, vision, they go together. And this particular color was part telepathy. It was part intelligence. It meant something more than it looked something. So wasn't as artistic, or like it wasn't a color palette as much as it was meaning, but I could still see it. And in the spirit world, I think everything she's telling me now, everything is moving, everything's dynamic, and everything's changing. And that's why I was merging my visual sense physically with my visual sense in the spirit world. So it seemed like a swirling of all these different colors, but it would have appeared to me as one thing had I been able to become a spirit with her. I'm not quite ready to do that yet. So that's the symbolism of color that sort of came through with that as well. She then was telling me that the meaning of yellow was because it symbolizes friendship. And then I thought, well, duh. Don't we give yellow roses to friends? I'm like, of course that symbolizes yellow. Oh my gosh. Some of the most obvious things don't occur to you when you're having spirit communication, because you're not thinking consciously and judging consciously. You're just open and allowing. And it's not until I reflect on my communication that I realize some of these obvious human being, ego, mind, conscious correlations that we make on an everyday level. And it's beautiful to have those two, to contrast the two, because you never really get the whole picture just with spirit. You have to reflect. You have to record. How many times have I told you? Draw what you see. Please write out what you talk about. That way you can go back and see, oh my gosh, that's that detail you would never have remembered in conscious awareness because you received it in alpha or theta awareness. So you always have to, as soon as you can, um, come back to conscious awareness and write down as much as you can and then reflect on it at a later time, and more comes to you, especially if you visualize the image that you saw of the spirit. Even if at first the only images you get are balls of light or just feelings of a presence, that's okay. Whatever it is that you receive as a sensory indication that something is present communicating with you, let that be what you remember and recollect as you go back to dial their number. And we've talked about memory, which is, I believe, going to be the next episode. We have to talk about memory because now we've just drawn a very thin bridge between memory and imagery. Because at first, when you talk to spirit, you can just feel a sense of something, a pressure, a warmth, a feeling of someone there with you. You may then start to see balls of light or color. You may then start to see humanoid forms or some other kind of form that's not completely filled in with detail. Then you will start getting very fine facial features, details, and then content with that. And so the content is, obviously the intelligence, and you have to recall that initial communication, whatever it was, in some way in order to dial that spirit's number again. So we're drawing a conclusion between remembering and recalling the initial sensory impact that got you to attention to this spirit or entity. Recalling that, whatever it is, in some way, if it was a noise, if it was a feeling, if it was a vision, if it was just a telepathic bunch of intelligence, recall that. And that memory bridges you back to that spirit, to that entity or being. Animal, could be a tree, it could be an intergalactic being. It's not just spirit, it's reaching through dimensions. So we are living in a physical dimension. It's not the only physical dimension, but it's a physical dimension. And we're reaching through dimensions. And so this is how you do it. So memory kind of bridges in here. Okay, let's go back to more of what she was saying. So her message is for friends. She gives me the impression that she was with friends when she passed. It might have been a traumatic passing or a quick passing or something like that. And I feel there's a lot with water because the life jacket symbolizes much more than friendship, because the color yellow could be on anything. It could have been just on a shirt, but she's having it on a life jacket, which is life-saving. It's also water, drowning, boating. So that kind of a scenario. So she wants to comfort friends that may have been with her when she passed, or friends that weren't with her that didn't get to see her before she passed. And it was a sudden death, or unexpected, I would say. Maybe not necessarily sudden as much as unexpected. Let's see, what else does she say here? Whew. All right, so many things are coming through. So her message to you is, obviously she's okay. Obviously she's still here, loving, beautiful, because I just described the vision of her to you. And right now I'm getting a heart well up and a little bit of tearing, because when I give the messages, my gift from spirit is a moment of joy that heals my entire body for a moment. So I get a pulse of healing as a gift for giving my message. So that's their gift to me. So that's happening right now. So here's what she says. She says, live. Joy is the most powerful way to have her around you, and it creates more joy for her. Living your life, having as much fun as possible, living and laughing about her, remembering her in that way, is going to strengthen your connection with her. She's still with you. She's still saving you and protecting you. The other thing about joy is that she tells me something for the whole human species, really. This is for everyone. She says something because joy is what calls her. She was such a joyful person. Her friends are joyful people. She says, she showed me joy, but she showed it to me as a film, like a material. She showed me the material of joy. It was so bizarre. And it appeared to me in my human mind, as I was having this communication with her this morning, it appeared as like a ribbon. You know, those like you can go buy Christmas ribbons that are see through, kind of meshy see through, but they're really pretty. It was like that with like a design, like a lace design on it. But it was a wide ribbon, very thin, but wide. And it was embroidered. You could see through it and like really decorative with gold beads and everything. She showed it to me as that uh, with a butterfly tethering at one end, and it was tethered and wrapped around a cylinder so that it was pulled tight and I could see the pattern on the ribbon, on the material of joy. And she showed it to me as this, and it's symbolism, of course, right? It's symbolism. This is the vibrational symbol. This is the physical representation of the vibrational match of what this actually is. Joy and vulnerability are actually materials that protect us. She has a friend she needs to say this to. One of her friends, or some of her friends, but I think this is for one of her friends who tends to be very work focused or stressed about life issues or conundrums, or very focused on work, or very worried about success or money or something like that. And she says verbatim, that's not everything about life. And she actually shows me that joy, the material of joy, she shows it to me as a material to represent to all of you listening that it's actually strong. It's a thing. Joy and vulnerability are materials that protect us more than being guarded and trying to earn money too much. I mean, there's a balance of everything, right? She says that joy and vulnerability are stronger materials than being guarded and protective. And it's because of sympathetic resonance. If you are joyous and vulnerable, you will attract more of that to you. If you are guarded and attempting too hard to try at things, then you will attract those situations where you need to be guarded and you need to try and attract those things. But what will help you grow, be healthy, which is the most important thing, what will help you grow and be the most healthy is to be joyful and vulnerable. Forget about your responsibilities because for moments of time, because you have to, everything in life is a vibration, it's a pulsation, it's a back and forth. You put in moments or pulsations of trying. Yes, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to allot this much time for working and making money and planning and getting my bills paid and doing all these things. Then I'm going to come back and have this time with my friends and my family and music or whatever, and have fun and forget all about it for hours or days, and then come back again. It's an oscillation. It's a derailing and then a returning, and a derailing and then a returning, and a back and forth. And you're going back and forth. And this builds momentum of progress. It's balance. So you have to forget about too much work, too much worry, too much stress, and be joyous and vulnerable and trust that the work you put in, even if you can't logically connect it in your mind to getting something out of it, with regards to abundance and money or career status or something like that, that it is working for you in other ways, such as opening doorways to more opportunity that you can't even think of. We don't even know the possibility that is available to us. We can't even think of what possibilities are. There are things that are possible for us that we can't think of. But try to think of them, make a plan, make a journal, write out your non-negotiables, all of this and that, but then say, or better, and say, I open this up to more. I expand this to resonate each one of these points, each one of these things that I itemized on my list. I expand each one of these to open up to more than I can even fathom. I open it up to possibility that I don't even know about yet because I can't even fathom it. That's what she's saying joy and vulnerability have for you. It's more protective, even though you're forgetting about work. And it feels like you could be wasting time. And there's like a component of guilt with having fun a lot for very career minded, successful people. Forget that and have joy. She shows it to me as a material. It's so strong. Yeah, it's pliable. It's breathable. It's beautiful. That's what she shows me. All these qualities of that ribbon are what joy and vulnerability bring to you. Pliability, breathability, beauty. There's a butterfly on one end of it, and she's highlighting that to me right now. It's a butterfly. And my conscious mind, this is my conscious mind here, saying butterflies symbolize transformation, um, right? Rebirth. The caterpillar transforms into the butterfly and then flies. But there's a butterfly tethering it at one end. It's wrapped around a cylindrical thing that makes it open in the middle. And she's now giving me all this detail that at first seems really weird and insignificant, but she's showing it to me in this pattern. If you can imagine just like a cylinder, like a straw, but a short straw, open at both ends. And there are little wires that are circles at the ends tethering all around the circles at both ends, tethering that ribbon that I described earlier, and a butterfly at one end of it. It is open in the middle too. So not only is joy and vulnerability an open protective material on our energy fields and our lives, it opens portals within that. So it's opening within opening. She's trying to show me two dimensions of opening because the human mind cannot fathom the amount of openings and the dimensions of opening that she can see. So you can imagine the picture, imagine a picture of a picture. And that picture is a picture of the picture. And inside that's a picture of the picture again. You've seen that, right? You've seen depictions of that. That's the fractal concept. She's showing a dynamic living fractal of openings and possibilities. And she's doing it through joy and vulnerability. If you don't know how to start this whole thing, go out and do the funnest thing you possibly can and laugh and forget about everything. And that's how you do it. That's just so simple. And it will open up possibilities of possibilities, openings of openings. And it's joy and vulnerability that gives you this pliability. If you are guarded, if you are protective, then it's a very hard covering. It doesn't ply, doesn't breathe. So it's very structured and rigid and may feel limiting. And then it may suck your joy or squash your joy or cover it up, conceal your joy, which might make you feel like you're getting boxed in life. So please try this. Okay, now she wants to talk about the concept of names because she's like, whoever hears this is going to want to know what my name is. And I'm like, yeah, well, what's your name? And instead of a name, because I don't always get names. If you listen to my podcast, I don't always get names. So I don't even think about them, to be honest with you. They don't even cross my mind because what crosses my mind and what crosses my energy field is content. But then I was like, well, oh yeah, if I was listening to a podcast on spiritual mediumship, I would want to know a name. I would want to know my name called out and I would want to know the spirit's name. But here's what she says. She says, the name is not always the most identifying feature of the spirit. The information that comes through, the content of information, the quality and the properties of the content that come through are more identifying and special to the people than a name. And the other thing she says is when she crossed over, at least, and probably when spirit crosses over, I believe I've heard this from other spirits, they do not take their human name. For example, we talked about this in one of my courses when we were doing a pendulum class. One of the first lessons we learned on the pendulum was connecting with your highest guide, asking what they would like to be called, and then asking what your soul name is, your soul name. Spirits have soul names, and you would not know that name if I were to say it out loud on a podcast because you knew them with their human name. But where she is now, she has not the human name she was given on earth. And that is not taken with her. That is not taken with souls as they pass from physical into the spirit world. They do not carry their label. Their name is a label. They do carry quality of who they are That never leaves. When we meet a human being in this physical plane, on this physical earth, that's still living in body, and their character and personality is apparent to us, that's a soul property. It's a soul property of who they are. It's also can be a soul property of what they need to heal. It could also be a soul property of their fears, but it's a true property of their soul. That is taken with them, which actually makes sense to me now that I think about it, because aren't we all here as souls in physical body to grow as souls? So if our soul is what's coming into the physical body to have a physical experience and grow. So when we come into physical and we're like, this sucks, we don't know it consciously, but we could walk through life putting one foot in front of the other, having the feeling of needing food, needing air, having to exercise, gaining weight if we eat too much, not being healthy if we don't exercise too much. Everything is so grounded and so heavy compared to spiritual dimensions that we forget we're souls. And we learn from being so grounded. We have to roll right over everything and feel every rock and stone. And this is This is kind of like poetic here, symbology and poetry. A little bit. We have to roll across every terrain, like touch every inch of every grounding thing about an entity, which is so drudgery compared to being a spirit. So we forget we're souls, but this is how we grow as souls. So of course we bring in our soul properties, because that's what has to be grounded, humbled, blunted, like humdrum step by step while we're here living our lives as physical beings. So when we cross over, we take our character, our personality with us. She says she takes with her memories of what she did while she was here, memories of the other souls who she knew while she was here. She knows you as a soul now. So this is another lesson that's coming through. Not only does she know you're still human and remembers her experience with you all as human beings together, but now she's crossed over and she remembers you being soul friends or soul group with her before you came into this life. And she can't wait for you to come back. And now she can give you more guidance, more friendship in ways you could not get from her before, because she can now see you as you are now compared to how you were before you all came into this physical life as souls. And she is smiling, wow, right now, really strong. Whew. And I'm getting that tearing again. And so she is really pleased and happy with you. And she's just like, you cannot wait to get back here. This is going to be great. She's really happy with what you're all doing, all of her friends. She's only having that message for the career driven person to fall into more joy and vulnerability. The other thing we take with us as we pass over, she says, is experience, which I sort of just indicated. So memories. She remembers every moment more clearly now since the point she was born and even in the womb. She has better memory now of her life on earth than she did while she was on earth. And so will you, she says, when you cross over. So with her, she takes memories because that's how she grew as a soul. And this is how she knows how to pick the next step in soul growth, which isn't always incarnation, by the way. Whatever, there are many steps of soul growth. And she says she'll help me with learning those as well at some point. Emotion, she remembers emotion. She remembers having human emotion as a soul was something that not all spirits will understand what that feels like until they've had a physical life and experience emotion, which she says, I forgot to mention, as one of those physical humdrum things that we have to experience as heavy physical beings, dense physical beings, is having human emotion. Human emotion is different than spirit emotion. Oh my gosh. And now this is going to have to be another lesson, she's telling me. But just for now, let's say human emotion moves the physical body. All emotion moves the body of the beholder of that emotion. In her case, she's a spirit, she's energy. So emotions are her, they embody her. So whatever you feel as spirit, you pretty much are in that moment. You resonate that quality, you resonate that power, and it is what it feels. So it's sanctified in its own meaning and sensation. As a human being, we feel an emotion as a physical being, and it then conducts through biology, tissue, cells, neurotransmitters in the brain, sets into motion cellular cascades of reactions and molecular reactions and body functions. And then we feel that as physical or mental. So emotions are different than mental capacity. Mental is thinking, it's thoughts, beliefs. Emotions arise from soul level. And then they translate to the mental, and they translate to the body. And they conduct very densely through tissue. They conduct very densely through the mind and the mental forms that we have. So it's a much more embodying way to have an emotion, and it's more affecting us individually in the body, and it sort of stays there as a feeling or an effect. Sort of like a negative emotion might make us have tachycardia. The heart rate goes up, or we might start having an inability to breathe, or it might start monkey mind so bad that you can't focus on what you're doing, or you get very depressed, or it might even bring us to tears. So it affects body reactions that we have to feel as physical beings. So it's much more intense. It's harder to feel like we can let go of emotion in a physical body. But she says, if you can let go of that, you will feel what it's like to be a spirit more spirit in form. You'll be able to feel your energy form and your energy power, your power and energy more strongly if you can actually let go of your emotion. She said the way to do that is in the moment of having a strong emotional feeling, even though you're going to feel it and think it, that's okay. Let you be the human you are, but just voice inside. If you can overpower the emotion enough to actually overvoice it in your mind with a mental language very strongly, even whatever language you speak, I let it go. I'm letting this emotion go, and visualize your body as a straw and let it go through both ends. And then just let it happen. So it's sort of like self-talk, but that actualizes the letting go of the emotion and just let it calm. And the more you do this, the more easy it will become. So she says she takes emotions, memory, experience, and the quality of personal character over with her to the spirit world. And probably all or most spirits do, but I can never say what all spirit does, right? I can only share with you my experience, because truth is experience. That's what truth is. And I basically am sharing my truth that I experience. And I feel that all experience that is real and true and loving might be perceived slightly differently by each one of us, but it's real because it's loving. So what I describe to you as speaking with spirit language, it's just a template to get you started. Once you're on a roll, fly. Do your own thing. Get your own log. Have a really fun time making your own spiritual encyclopedia of symbolism, which is what we did in my class, Biological Mediumship. By the way, if you're interested in that class, please go to my website, osteopathicwell that's my email, osteopathicwell@gmail.com. Or you can just go to osteopathicwell.com and send me a message that you want to take that class, and I'll give it again. I recommend taking a new class because we have so much more information to share. But anyway, what I was saying is spirit takes quality, content, intensity, truth with them over to the spirit world, not a label or a name. So that's why I'm not really ever getting names. I have a couple times, though. If you've listened to my podcast, I think I've gotten names a few times, and that would be up to the spirit. And so with this, let me think, is there anything else that came through? I appreciate you all bearing with me with this in the moment information. I think that's going to close this session out, and I've opened up already openings of openings for next episodes. So I thank you all so very much. If you have any questions, as always, please contact me and I'll be happy to answer them. I've gotten emails from people letting me know what kind of courses you'd like to learn about and things. So I love feedback on the podcast now. I think I've opened up comments and fan mail and stuff. And it's really just to contact and share. I just ask for only loving comments. Not everybody will resonate with what they hear, and everyone has free will, but I just ask and trust in all of you to share love and goodness. And I thank you very much for listening to Spirit Call Out. And I wish you joy. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for Spirit Call Out. To see images or any visuals that go along with this episode, and to discover more about me and my work, please visit www.osteopathicwell.com. Don't forget to check out Spirit Call Out on the Human Communion YouTube channel that also posts each and every episode. And until next time, I wish you joy.